Hello, students. We're going to finish out Columbus today. We have spent a while with Columbus and learned a lot about him and his quest to find India and find Asia and him finding America. So we're going to finish out his life. I'm going to go back to this is the book we started with. It's just a little bit more age appropriate, and we're going to finish out Columbus on this Monday. This time, when he made landfall on the other side of the ocean, he found no rich. Remember, he's gone back to Spain, and now everybody wants to get rich quick. He had a little bit of gold, and again, Columbus really his goal is to be, for gold. I mean, yes, he did want to be a missionary to the natives, but he also, wanted gold and wanted to find his way to the Indies and all the things that the money could bring him. So when but when he gets back there, everybody wanted to get rich fast. It wasn't just him, a lot of people he told, and a lot of people said, I want to go back to America and get rich. So they all wanted to get rich fast, and women and children were urging them on. Also, Columbus's two brothers had come to sail with him. Flags were waving and trumpets were blaring as Columbus proudly led his fleet out to sea. But when he made his landfall on the other side of the ocean, he found no rich islands and no friendly Indians. He had come to the Dominica and to nearby Guadalupe. These islands were so wild and steep, it seemed as if the waterfalls came tumbling out of the clouds. The Indians who lived there were wild too. They were cannibals. Cannibals mean that you eat other people, who ate their enemies. They had no riches of any kind and received the white men with poisoned darts. Columbus and his men were very disappointed, so he led his fleet on. He found many beautiful islands. Remember, if you have your world map, you can look where, like Central America, where Dominican Republic and Cuba and Haiti and Jamaica. But he found neither Asia nor gold, and his men grew very impatient. When they came to Hispaniola and found the fortress in ruins and not a Spaniard left to tell the tale, remember they left them at Hispaniola. Their impatience changed to anger against Columbus. The Indians had run away and were hiding in the jungles. The Spaniards hunted them and made them their slaves. They forced them to build fortresses and towns and no toil in the gold mines. The queen had ruled that the Indians were to be treated kindly and only gently converted to Christianity. When Columbus reminded his men of this, they refused to obey and plotted against him. Columbus, who handled his men so well at sea, could not handle them on land. When he returned to Spain to ask still for more ships to continue, the king and queen, so King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, did not receive him well. They would not give him more money. They received him rather coldly, which means not very nice. Evil tongues whispered in their ears that Columbus wanted to make himself king over those Indian islands. Columbus talked himself back into the favor of the court, though, for he was a good talker. And the king and queen decided, you know what, we're going to give you some more ships and you could sell off for now the third time back to America. But in secrecy, they sent a Spanish noble on another ship to Hispaniola. He was to judge if the rumors about Columbus were true, and no free Spaniard would sail with Columbus now. For crews, he had to take bad men who were in prison. So he had to take the prisoners and take them to America. That had to be his seamen. Ooh. So on this third voyage, Columbus came out of the mouth of the Orinoco River on the South American continent. He could tell that he had reached a continent, for the river was so large that its fresh water sweetened the ocean all around it. But it was an unknown continent. Columbus had no use for it. It barred his way to Asia. Columbus was puzzled. His men were rebellious. A violent fever racked his body. He gave up his search and sailed again for Hispaniola. There the Spanish noble were waiting for him. He planned to be a viceroy himself and had joined the men who were plotting against Columbus. He arrested Columbus as a traitor and put him in chains. His brothers and faithful men wanted to fight to free him, but Columbus said no. His pride was hurt. Only the king and queen themselves could set him free and reserve his honor. So here is Columbus in shackles. It's terrible. The chains rattled, the storm shrieked as Columbus was shipped as a prisoner back across the ocean. His hair had turned white, but there was still some fire in his eyes. In proud silence, Columbus approached the king and queen, his heavy chains dragging behind him. The king and queen were embarrassed that he had been put in chains, and they ordered the chains to be removed. They treated Columbus kindly and punished the plotting grandee, but they made another man viceroy of Hispaniola in his stead. Maybe they did not feel themselves bound by their promises as long as Columbus had not reached the Far East and had delivered the king's letter to the Emperor of China. Columbus had to have ships and sail off once more to find a passage through the unknown continent he had found. He was still sure that Asia must be right behind it. This continent's in my way, but Asia's got to be right there. He just knew it. Well, he had to wait for a long time. At last, he was given four to get a ship. At last, he was given four old worm eaten ships. Columbus, too, was getting old and full of aches and pains. On his fourth voyage, Columbus sailed out to the west, past Hispaniola, until we came to the lone coast of Central America. It was the hurricane season, and storms such as no Spaniard had ever seen tossed his poor ships all about. They leaked at every joint. Wind slashed with fury. His aching bones, and he's older now, they're hurting. Probably has arthritis. But this time, his son sailed with him. He stood at his father's side and was his biggest comfort. When the sea was calm, millions of mosquitoes. Remember the mosquitoes that we drew last week? The mosquitoes. Remember Columbus was called the admiral of the mosquitoes? Mosquitoes swarmed out from the jungles. The poisonous stings made the white men feverish and their skins turned yellow, as in the mockery of the yellow gold they yearned for and did not find. Columbus sailed up and down the endless coast, looking for an opening. He found no passage through the land, for there was none, and he never found the enormous Indian treasures hidden behind the tangled jungle. Time was running short. The worms in the warm tropical waters ate their way even deeper into his rotting ships. He had to abandon one ship. With the others, he set off to the Caribbean Sea, hoping to reach Hispaniola before they sank. But on the way, the water began to leak in faster than his men could pump it out. Slowly, his ships were sinking. He had to sail them up on a beach on the lonely island of Jamaica. There stood riddled old ships side by side on the white sand. They would never again be afloat, and no ship would ever sail by and come to rescue the shipwrecked men. Was the great Columbus going to pine away on this far away island? So we will see. On Tuesday, we'll finish these last couple of pages of Columbus. But as you can see, his story has gone downhill, as was kind of told in the last few weeks. That he started out on such a high, on such an incredible. He's courageous, which he was so courageous to go out, and he's looking for India. He wasn't looking for America, but found America. I don't think he ever was really happy that he or knew what he had found in America. He was kind of mad at America for being in the way of finding the East. But if he only knew, what his discovery, was going to mean, for the future for us as we are living in this country that Columbus founded. So we'll finish him up on Tuesday, and I will have a short little activity for you to do, and you can upload that as well. So I appreciate you listening, and we'll see you on Tuesday. Bye.